Eastern.
Welcome back, everybody. A school in Meridian, Mississippi is under fire for the way it put into effect its disciplinary actions. Students in the predominantly black school being incarcerated for minor infractions, including dress code violations using profanity. And according to a Justice Department probe, listed a number of things, saying they were crammed into small, filthy cells, tormented with the arbitrary use of mace as a punishment for even the most minor infractions, like talking too much or failing to sit in the back of their cells. Civil rights investigators claim that the Lauderdale County Youth Court, Meridian Police Department, and the Mississippi Division of Youth Services operated, quote, a school-to-prison pipeline whereby children arrested in local schools became entangled in a cycle of incarceration without substantive and procedural protections required by the U.S. Constitution. Basically, being arrested without probable cause and failing to have due process in court. The town itself denying any wrongdoing. Despite the findings from the Department of Justice, the federal agency is giving local officials 60 days to negotiate the end the constitutional violations or face a federal lawsuit. All that brings us to Dr. Steve Perry, CNN education contributor, founder of Capital Prep Magnet School in Hartford, Connecticut. You know, this was such a shock. I mean, even I think in the scheme of shocking things sometimes we hear about schools, this one, the school-to-prison pipeline, I mean, they weren't joking about that.
They weren't. And what's most important, Soledad, is that the people who supposedly run this school have completely lost control. And as a result, they're calling the police in to take care of what should be simple acts that children do. If the kids cussed, or if the kids had a dress code violation, are we really saying that the next step is to call the police? And then we're going to continue to employ you as an administrator in our community. We're going to continue to employ you as a teacher in our community. The sad part about this is, even though the Justice Department has found issue with what's happening in Meridian County, the children are the ones who will have to go back to this horrible academic setting. I use academic very lightly.
So let's talk about race and all this as a factor, because the fact that it's a predominantly black school is not incidental to this story.
No, not at all. That's why we're having the conversation. We're having this conversation because it's about black kids. Because we have somehow so criminalized the behaviors of African Americans that it goes all the way down to the littlest of us. Some of these children are very young. Some of the crimes that they're being accused of are just being kids. But because they're being kids who are African American, it seems to be acceptable in this particular place to criminalize it to the extent that you now need to call the police. We have a school with 700 children. We called the police twice last year. Twice. We're an urban school. We called it twice. This is not normal behavior. It's disgusting, reprehensible, and every single child who's in that school needs to be given the opportunity to go